Hello and welcome to this episode of the World's Best Coaches series, the series where we're going around the world and interviewing the best of the best when it comes to business coaching and education. Today I am joined by Teo Brown, an executive coach out of Atlanta. He is also the owner of Flashpoint Leadership Consulting. Teo, I'm going to hand it over to you for a second just to introduce yourself and your business and tell everybody what you do.
All right, excellent. Sam, glad to be here and I'm glad to be a part of this. So, my nature, my business is ultimately helping others be better at what they do professionally. So, I partner a lot of individuals in a lot of different industries. I help them identify their strengths, their weaknesses. We can do various types of leadership assessments to further ascertain where their strengths, where their weaknesses are. But the ultimate thing is, if it's more work-life balance they're looking to achieve, it's a higher performance from a team they're looking to achieve, if they're looking to lead their teams through various changes, whether it's economics, business just in nature, just various aspects of business. Is I'm that consultant, that partner that walks them through it, that active listener that's willing to help them find solutions to their various circumstances.
Oh, amazing, amazing. So tell me a little bit more about the beginning of that journey. How did you get into coaching? Was it always the dream to get into it? And what was that kind of transition like into that kind of business?
Great question, Sam. I can appreciate it. So ultimately, I can recall at a point in time, I was just joining a pretty big organization. They had a very extensive onboarding process, very strategic, very tactical. And it actually set me up for success. But not only that, I appreciated the individual I had leading me through that process, the coach, the facilitator, very experienced. And so it led me to seek out how to better myself in that particular business, right? So I took some time to go back, did some schooling, some college courses, some studying along those lines, and got a degree that helped me understand better how to facilitate, how to coach, right? So I got a degree in org development.
Mm,
And so that kind of took me to a space where it led me into learning and development, doing a lot of training and development for a lot of different corporations. At that aspect, I realized I was good at knowledge sharing and having their individuals be engaged in what I was sharing and what I was training. So with that being said, it actually got me into doing some consultant work, and that led me into doing some leadership development. That led me into doing some executive coaching, and so it's primarily been in the learning and development space. However, just having the opportunity to work with various individuals at various levels of their career, and being able to partner with them let me know I was actually good at helping people be better at what they were aiming to do professionally.
awesome. And is there a kind of a favorited area of business that you like working in? I'm intrigued.
Absolutely. The people aspect.
Yeah.
It's always interesting. You never know how an individual is going to respond to you. And so many times I've had these one-on-one sessions or group sessions, and afterwards, someone may come up and give me the greatest feedback I ever thought I might receive about how well the session went, and so forth. I recently just had a session with someone who says, you're very easy to talk to. And I have to believe that. You'll be amazed at some of the things I've had people share with me just in sessions. And, we just met and so forth. So I recognize the ability to be able to hear people, right, and reflect on what they're telling me to a
Yeah.
certain to a degree where I actually will follow back up the next day and say, I thought about what you said. I thought about what you shared.
Yeah.
Connecting with people. That's the biggest part of it, the opportunity to connect with individuals. And it's a domino effect, right?
Yeah.
They're doing something better with their life. It helps their family life, their social life, their professional life. So it's all connected.
Yeah, I've got to say it's probably my favorite part of what I do, and I love it every day. Just meeting new people every single day is just it's what I get up for, really. It's just so fun. Some of the stories, some of the things that people have done, you think, wow, it's so interesting. Like,
Right. Absolutely. Right. So everybody has a story now.
yeah, exactly.
And so it's just an opportunity to personalize it. And I think people can appreciate the opportunity to have personalization
Yeah.
and not say. one situation is going to fit every person, but to your point, like you said, it's amazing some of the experiences people have had, and then you have the opportunity to hear those experiences.
Absolutely. So stepping into the client side, I like to ask this question quite a bit, but what are some of the biggest problems that you're seeing in business owners at this kind of time of the year right now, or in 2024? What are some of the biggest issues that you're seeing?
Biggest issues, that could be a plethora, right? Um, but I will honestly say the interesting thing, and I'm going to reflect on this question because I have several different instances I can reflect on.
Yeah,
And the ironic thing is that this similar industries, um, but these individuals manage a lot of resources, right? Whether it's people or property, they manage a lot of resources, and they're scattered throughout the world. And the common denominator sometimes is growth, right? Um, Now my team is growing. They're more dispersed, um, and I'm managing that.
yeah,
And then maybe on top of that, the lack of effective communication between departments or interdepartments.
yeah.
Um, Team alliance. It's probably nothing too new. It's just that I think we're dealing with it from a different space where a lot of the work is done virtually.
I was about to say, there's still a lot of issues with people trying to getting their employees back into the office. The dynamic has changed completely. It's not what it used to be like 5 years ago. It's incredibly different. Yeah,
Absolutely. So to your point, I have one organization that's their task, and we're partnering with them in the very early phases of this executive coaching piece where their challenge is getting the buy-in for being back in the office,
yeah,
right? I think the other dynamic is, to your point, is that we're still virtual, and in that space, uh, a lot of times I think the teams lose their dynamics, right? Their ability to be able to connect and so forth. So I think that's one aspect. So I don't think it's too new with some of the things I've heard. It's just now that it's just now more virtual.
yeah. Absolutely. So in the UK, we have, there's some slight misconceptions about business coaching in general. The idea of you kind of opening up your business to allow somebody like yourself to come in and start to work with you and peel it apart. And sometimes people are a bit protective of that process. Have you come across any of these types of misconceptions before, and blocked off people and business owners, or?
Yeah, it's all about stakeholders, you know. And I see it all the time. One group we're working with, we're in the very early phases of it, and we're experiencing that. And so I think it's really ultimate about building trust and then having people buy into the things that they're really trying to change and so forth. So it's I'm not even shocked when I have that experience,
Yeah,
and I almost expect it.
yeah, of course, yeah,
It's like one of those things you just meet people where they are, right? You're entitled to have that feeling. I totally get it. So I just find that it's just best to meet people where they are. Sometimes you have to tap in every now and then, just say, hey, just tap in, see how things are going. How can I help?
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and I think a lot of what coaching is being there to ask the right questions to that CEO or to that manager, and keeping them accountable on the different goals that they set. And yeah, your job is very difficult. It's a hard line of work to do.
yeah, 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 yeah. It's definitely different. It is definitely different. You got individuals managing now generations that are just now new to the workforce and those dynamics. And so it's a whole new era of coaching and developing and
Absolutely.
support. But I will say I am thoroughly enjoying it. And it's always interesting to hear these individuals' dynamics. I think the most interesting one, I had an individual who I'm partnering with, and we're going through these coaching sessions, and her challenge is she's leading a team that speaks French, and she speaks Mandarin and English.
Yeah.
Can you
Right.
imagine?
Yeah.
So those are the dynamics, that you got leaders now faced with, and you're coaching them through it.
That's a bit of an interesting problem to have. Alrighty. Well, okay, so a bit of an advice question for you. So if I'm in the corporate world right now, I've decided that, my goal is to become a business coach or an exec coach. What kind of advice are you going to give me going from corporate world, jumping straight into business ownership and being a business coach?
Be prepared to weather the peaks and valleys. It's not the same as being in corporate where you have your defined tasks and this date you're getting compensated for it, and this date you're being compensated for it.
Yeah.
As a business coach, you got to be a little bit more strategic to understand that, sometimes you may have an instant loss, right? Someone could cut the cord, their business could suffer. It could be a domino effect on your business. So every day could be a new challenge that you don't always have the necessary resources you would have walking into corporate every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think being open to that journey, right? It's like one of those moments where you think, man, I could just get past this phase, but it's being willing to embrace that phase, right?
Yeah.
And not look at it as torture, but an opportunity to learn and grow.
Yeah.
Uh, for instance, I heard something some years back that says, get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing going from corporate to the industry of being a business coach. Be comfortable with rejection.
Yeah.
Be comfortable recovering from rejection. And all rejection is not a no.
Well, I think we go through the philosophy here of every rejection is a learning point for our next proposal, for example. So every time we get a no, we go, okay, well, that's a no. Why did you say no? Let me resolve that exact no in the next proposal I send out. And we just keep on doing that every single time. And it's an interesting dynamic to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for improvement. And to your point, I would say just be comfortable with feedback and seek feedback. To your point, like you said, hey, what can I do better? What did I miss here? So I can make the next circumstance better and so forth. And be willing to receive that feedback, no matter how harsh it is. You know, I think that's what made me better. I have received some interesting feedback over the years. I'm like, wow, I would have never known. I would have never known, and I think to look at feedback as something as a gift. I've often heard, someone doesn't owe you, feedback. They're taking the opportunity to share something with you, so be willing to receive it. And so,
Absolutely. So
absolutely,
looking into the future now, next 5 years, what are the aspirations for your firm? Where do you guys want to get to?
I think it's definitely growth. I'm ultimately following a need per se. For instance, I've bled into doing executive coaching. It's not something I started out with, but it's definitely something that is bleeding over into something else. So ultimately, because I'm preparing to see how AI impacts this whole aspect of executive coaching, um, that my long-term vision is to lean more into now psychology,
Okay.
right? So I'll blend a little executive coaching with some more skilled psychology, right?
Yeah.
So, I think one of the biggest things is executive coaching, you got to understand life, be a lifelong learner, right? So I have to go and get more learnings and certificates and certifications and
I think that's
uh,
an exciting thing, though, isn't it? It's an exciting challenge to have. Oh, I've got to go out and I've got to go and learn more. Oh, I
right.
mean, that's freaking awesome. I mean,
You know, it's like that's the only way to go. And I think, once upon a time, I think I saw this story recently where this lady was 84 years old who just got her, if I'm not her master's, I think, because I think she had two bachelors. She
yeah,
just got a master's at 84. So, I think it inspires you to understand that, for life, you can continue to learn. And so I think we're going to have to, just from the nature of the way life is evolving, you're going to have to always stay connected. And so I'm just preparing for it.
so what do you think some of the challenges that you guys are going to face as you start to grow?
I think one of the challenges is navigating uh, what the new work life will look like. I hear sometimes individuals saying we're going to 3-day work weeks or 4-day work weeks, the hybrid schedules. I think, our business basically models what's going on in real life.
Yeah.
And so as companies embrace maybe an entire remote business now, or maybe a hybrid schedule, or whatever that looks like. I think that's primarily what we're navigating, helping companies progress through. I think that's going to be one of the biggest things in the next 3 to 4 years. Um,
Yeah.
and then just ultimately how our current workforce prepares for more technology and more AI within their workspace.
Yeah, so that was something I was going to ask about. You mentioned AI. So, looking ahead and technology is rapidly changing. How do you anticipate kind of shaping your business model to that and that the AI changes, for example?
It's a very good question, and I've been like truly reflecting on that because a lot of our business deals with a lot of times now more virtual, but a lot of face-to-face interactions and so forth.
Right.
And so not really understanding how AI is going to impact that and to what degree and how we can ultimately benefit from it. How would it help us enhance our coaching per se? I don't know if it's, for instance, if it's just the initial intro consultation where there's some form of AI just having that initial conversation, maybe for time saving or for efficiency, you get that initial call started just with some form of AI being involved. So it's really just taking on to kind of think how it's going to really impact the business. But my goal would also just to keep it more personal. I would hate to take the personalization out of what we do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think it's pretty daunting, but it's also, I had an interview with somebody the other day and they said, people are worried about losing their jobs and stuff to AI and things like this. But what you should be worried about is the person that makes them better by utilizing AI to do their job better. It's not
Mhm.
AI you need to worry about necessarily. It's about somebody who can utilize it is what you got to worry about.
Exactly, exactly. And so there again, it kind of threw a whole new wrench on things in a sense because you don't really know where the ball is going to swivel to. And so, it's just really just staying in the game and
Yeah,
um, being focused, keeping a good network,
yeah.
you know, and putting yourself out there consistently and so forth.
100%. So what we like to do at the end of these interviews is get some sort of recommendation from you, something, a piece of learning. So is there a book or something that you can think of that really inspired you that you would recommend everyone to read?
I've actually would probably consider two.
Okay.
So I'll share more, right? Sharing is caring. Uh, I've taken a liking to this author, and he's written several books. He wrote Blink, Malcolm Gladwell,
Okay.
right? So he in this books he talks about, and again, I'm in executive coaching, and I work with people in various industries and so forth, various job responsibilities, and so his book walks through several different professions. And he explains why each of these individuals are experts in their professions.
Yeah.
And that's why he calls the book Blink, because he says within their capabilities, they have the ability to instantly recognize something.
Right.
So for me in executive coaching, I have these abilities to instantly recognize something in someone, right? And to further give context, he says in the story where there's this art critic who goes around traveling museums and discovering art. He goes to this one museum in particular, and he instantly says this particular art is a fake. It's in the museum, everybody's recognized it as authentic. It's a fake. Come to find out, do a little research, it's a fake, right?
Wow.
Another industry, totally different, right? Chief fireman, I think he was had his crew in this burning building. And the way the building was burning, the chief told his whole crew to get out, and the building collapsed not long after. The story goes the way the building was burning let him know it wasn't a general fire. He had been in enough to know how fire spread.
Yes. Yeah.
And so just kind of thinking about the capability somebody just had this natural ability, or a mechanic who turns on a car and hears a certain knock and know instantly what the problem is, right? So great book, just kind of think about how you go along life and, we all have these capabilities to recognize something in an instant. And that's the premise of the book, right? Um, the other book is by James Redfield. It's called Celestine Prophecy.
Okay.
Uh, some of the premises, again, I work with people, so deal with a lot of human behavior. I read a lot of books on human behavior.
Yes.
So this is a great read, and primarily because it introduces the thought that nothing is by coincidence.
Yeah.
The chance that we had to have this conversation, you think, oh, wow, what a coincidence. But it's actually wasn't, Sam. It was by design that
Yes.
some of it was, So the book follows that premise that you walk into somebody, you just happen to chance meet them. No, that wasn't by chance. It wasn't by accident. So many times we take life instances as accidents.
Yes. You do.
They're more purposeful, right? So that's some aspect of the book, but then it also goes into the aspects to talk about relationships. And it says that a lot of times when people have frictions in their relationships, is because there's two C's together and they're not complete. And the only way they're complete are when they're together.
Yes.
You have to find you someone who's a complete O, that way they're already fulfilled. And they're not looking for fulfillment from others. So, those are my two good reads and so forth. So just to give you a
I'm
little
gonna have to check them out. They sound fantastic. I love the coincidence stuff as well. I think yeah, it's such an interesting thing. I'm gonna have to make sure I download them or on Audible or maybe order the book. But I hope everyone goes and checks them out. Yeah.
Absolutely, they're absolutely great reads. It's like one of those chance things when forgive me for the word chance, but I like London. I find myself over there. All of a sudden I run into Sam, like, you look familiar for some reason. I say, as life happens like that. And I've had so many instances, and that's why I learned not to take anything for granted, that everything has purpose to it.
Yeah, honestly, it's happened to me a couple of times as well. It's like, when I was younger, it happened a couple of times where I would go into a country on holiday and I would bump into somebody that was in my school that I used to study with. And I'd be like, what are you doing here? Oh, my family. And I'm like, what? Like, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Absolutely, right? You're like, how did this could have happened? You could have designed it better. So it's like they're not chance, those are purposeful. And just to the other point, it says sometimes we miss the purpose in those instances because we think it's just a coincidence. So we just take it as a fleeting moment. But saying there's actually more purpose in those moments if we
yeah,
just take them. Yeah.
absolutely.
So yeah.
Awesome. Well, look, thank you so much for coming on, Tio. If anyone wants to find out where you are, where do they go to get in contact with you?
Hey, well, feel free to find me on LinkedIn. That's always the best place. I'm always pretty active there. So it's Teo, last name Brown. I would love to discuss any executive coaching opportunities, training. That is my field. That is my passion. Pretty happy to be pretty good at it. So I thoroughly enjoy it. It's not even work for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
I look forward to it. Let's chat some more. So have a great rest of the day.